Hi everyone, thank you for joining us. We are here again to do the Q&As, and here today we are with Sidni with Flipco. Sidni, hi.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing good, enjoying this cloudy weather.
Awesome. So we're going to be talking about what Flipco has to offer for us, right? And we're talking mainly to investors, agents that work with investors to be able to help them. So we want to make sure that they understand who they need to refer to and who they can call for any questions. So tell us a little bit about Flipco first.
Yeah, so Flipco is an asset-based hard money lender. I know a lot of people say that and don't really understand what that means, but as a hard money lender, we're primarily focusing on the investment, not really the borrower as a conventional loan officer would, right? So underwriting requirements are a lot different. We help our investors and we help realtors help their clients finance properties quickly with hassle-free financing. So no credit checks, no appraisals, no inspections. The only time we need a survey is really if the client's adding square footage to the property. We're able to fund within 48 hours and we can issue an approval within 24 hours, which really helps our investors get those contracts under wraps quickly. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. So with that, you mean that you don't focus on the credit of the client, you focus on the property itself.
Yeah.
So what it's worth.
Yeah, we're one of the few hard money lenders that I know of that are still doing the no credit checks. So a lot of times a lender will say that they don't have a credit minimum or a credit requirement, but they're still pulling the investor's credit. So with Flipco, we don't do any credit pulls.
Okay, awesome. And so how many deals do you work with throughout the year? I mean, is there
a lot?
Yeah.
a lot. So investors can do multiple properties with us at a time. They don't have to just flip one and complete it before they move on to their next project. So some of our more seasoned investors could be doing 5, 6 properties at once, while other ones might be just starting out. We don't require that investors have any experience. So if you have agents that are working with like newbie investors, or if you guys know of any like contractors who want to get into flipping rather than just doing the construction for the flippers, and they don't have any HUDs to show for the experience, then they're more than welcome to get the same kind of financing at Flipco. As far as volume, it really depends. We have slow seasons with like holidays, things like that, but we're really starting to ramp back up now that we're in the new year. But we're processing loans every day, all day, and are just welcoming of all the newbies coming our way, all the seasoned flippers too.
Yeah, awesome. I do work with a lot of investors, and one of the questions with the new investors that I always have is the interest rate. Hard money is a little bit different. Can you explain the difference between hard money lending and a traditional?
Yeah, so with traditional financing, the underwriting requirements, as I said before, are a lot different. So there's credit checks, there's appraisals, inspections. The turnaround time on financing through conventional could be anywhere from 2 to 3 to 4 weeks, right? So it really just depends on the deal. But there's a lot more looking at the investor or the borrower with conventional financing. And it does have its pros and cons, but with hard money, it's more risk involved to the lender. So typically you're going to see higher interest rates, lower underwriting requirements. We can move in and out of the underwriting or approval process pretty fast, but a lot of people do have a misconception, or they shy away from hard money, or think there's a negative connotation to it if they don't really have an understanding because of the high interest rates or origination fees. But what I can say is Flipco only has 2 fees, so that's our interest and our origination. We only charge interest on funds used, so we're considered a non-Dutch lender. And then outside of that, there's no other fees associated with our loans. So we're one of our core values is for investors, by investors, and we've worked hard to create a product where we're removing all of those junk fees that a lot of people think of when they hear hard money.
Wow, that's awesome. That is awesome, because there are usually a lot of fees that are involved in this process. How long does it take before you can actually get the money to the client, or how is the money distributed?
Yeah, so everything happens at closing, so we don't take anything up front. That is actually something that I would consider a red flag if you have someone that's wanting to take an origination fee before actually funding the deal. But we can fund in 48 hours. We can approve in 24 hours, and we'll wire the money to the title company at the time of closing. And then the fees of the client, as far as the origination fee and their closing cost, is due, at closing.
Okay, awesome. So talk to us about the whole process and the presentation that you actually sent over to me.
So the Intro to Hard Money just really talks about Flipco. Flipco was founded in 2020 by an investor. So it's female founded. I really love that about Flipco because you don't hear about it. Well, at least when I started, I didn't hear about a lot of female investors, right?
True.
Yeah. So founded by an investor, like I said, we really worked hard to eliminate all of those hurdles that investors face. A lot of us at Flipco are also investing, whether we're doing wholesaling, creative finance, multifamily, new construction, or even fix and flips. A lot of realtors on our team as well. So a lot of experience. We really can understand the pain points of our investors so that we can make sure that we're, serving them as best as we can. So you'll see that we have like minimum reserves requirements in there, and I can touch on that a little bit. A lot of people ask, okay, well, if you're not doing any like credit checks, you're not doing income verification, then like what's the catch, right? So really, there's no catch. We're just asking for things like minimum reserves, a viable deal, right? So minimum reserves is 25% of your rehab, 6 months of interest payments, the down payment, and then your origination fee. So funds don't have to be seasoned. But as long as you have access to that in one or more of your accounts, then you would qualify for a loan with Flipco. We can do pre-approvals for clients as well. After they've contracted and they're ready to start submitting documents, we have a minimum doc collection process as well. So we're asking for those proof of funds, which is 3 months of bank statements showing that they have those minimum reserves currently in their account.
Which is 25%.
Yeah, that 25%, 6 months of interest payments, down payment, and then the origination fee. We're also looking at their rehab budget, so submitting their scope of work to us along with photos of the property. That allows us to determine what the after repair value is going to be. So we're doing our own in-house underwriting, which is why we can save the investor money on the appraisal, right? So instead of us charging them for an appraisal fee, we'll do that in-house. Looking at what the property is valued at right now, its current condition, making sure that any issues are addressed within their scope of work, and then making sure that their scope of work also reflects the comparable properties in the area that are going to, prove what that after repair value is going to be. So they'll submit that to us. They'll submit their contract, of course, and then their entity documents. So we're for investors. We lend to entities. So we need to have like their S corp, their LLC, or their trust set up. If they don't have that at the time, then we can also, make a referral so that they can go ahead and get their LLC or their entity started, and it won't even hold up closing. So we've got a lot of different ways that we can navigate creatively to go ahead and get our investors and their deals funded as well.
Awesome. And so with agents, is there something they need to know if they're working with an investor from their client?
Yeah, so I would say agents, just be mindful of any lender, like whatever lender you're wanting to work with. Hopefully that's Flipco, know about their underwriting. We have something called general comping guidelines. So I've spent a lot of time with underwriting figuring out, okay, well, what are you looking for when you're finding these ARVs and these comparable properties so that I can make sure that our clients are also aware and, we're all comparing the same apples to apples here. But I would say if you can get with ELDA, or if you guys are able, I'll share that document with you so that you guys can post that or make it available to your agents as well. But the comping guidelines are going to be essential whenever the agents are going and finding those CMAs, those comparable properties for the investors. So I would say that would really help them out. And then just being mindful of the things that I mentioned before with how to qualify. So you don't want to be trying to pair a project with your client if you know that they don't meet those minimum reserves. So generally having an idea of their liquidity, how much are they willing to invest, talking to them about that, making sure that a new investor isn't taking on something that's going to be difficult, right? Yeah. So I wouldn't be so inclined to match them with a flip that has like $100,000 rehab and it's their very first one. Right. Setting them up for success. I think as a realtor, your client is especially the new ones, are leaning on you guys to be a resource, right? So making sure that they understand what kind of finishes should be in the home, why you guys are choosing the different comparable properties that you are, as it relates to the after repair value, right? Making sure that they understand that. walking them through different exit strategies. So, ideally the person's going to want to flip it as in sell it, but understanding market trends, really you guys as agents being educated on how the market is fluctuating, interest rates, things like that, and then passing that information on to your investors so that they can make the best decision moving forward. Sometimes people get into flips and it doesn't always go well, and they do have to kind of pivot, maybe instead of selling it, they need to refinance or something like that. And then you guys are still able to help them out with finding maybe a tenant, or just different ways to help them through hurdles, I would say is my best advice there. Helping them with contractors. I know that you're one of the few agents that's also an investor too, or you work with a lot of investors, and I think that's really cool. A lot of agents say that they're investor friendly. Maybe they're just talking about the rates, or what I've noticed is they're just talking about the rates that they charge, but investor friendly. The experience. Yeah. So it's like, I don't, really care too much about the rate. I do, it matters, but I really want to work with an agent that understands what I'm doing, like my business as a flipper, one that does know about market trends, that's staying up to date on that, one that is super well connected like you are with different people in the industry. So anytime I have a problem, I can just pick up the phone, call you like, hey, Elder, what do I do in this situation? Or do you know anybody that can help me with this? The biggest thing I see is people having, they don't have a team built. They are not out there in the community really creating relationships with other investors, other agents, contractors. It's not like a every man for himself kind of thing. There's room for everybody to collaborate.
Most definitely. And that's how I met you.
It is.
Yeah, we were working with a client at the same time. And so you were very helpful. I was on vacation. And
remember?
Yes. Yeah. So I was on vacation. You were picking up your phone immediately every time that I called you. So
and you were on it. You were on it all the time. And I've always loved that about you. And your clients say the same thing too. Like very organized, very on top of it. Like you're on vacation, but you were working.
Yes. So. Well, except for this vacation that just passed by. But
sometimes you gotta take a break.
Yeah, of course. But you were also on it, and you have taught me a lot. Not only with my client at the time, but throughout, we've now become really good friends, and I know about your other business. Tell me a little bit about your other business.
Yes, so you guys, I have a brand called Building Real Estate Empires. That's actually how I found out about Flipco too. So started off as building Black empires. I inherited some property when I was younger. My father passed away, and he used to work for HUD, so Housing and Urban Development. He was very heavy in real estate, was a broker, and did flipping and had tenants, the whole nine. And I had zero interest in real estate, but inheriting properties and navigating through like probate and wills and family drama and all that stuff really got me inspired, motivated, passionate about helping other families, really minorities, getting into real estate and keeping their legacies. My dad worked very hard for his portfolio, and I can tell you I don't have any of those properties. We ended up selling them. So for me, Building Real Estate Empires is really about helping to eradicate poverty and just really inspiring families to keep what they have, not selling just because they
have to.
Yeah.
Or because they don't know.
Yeah. So for me, it was my family was really ignorant to a lot of things, which is it's kind of shocking to say since my dad was so heavy into real estate, but I didn't think I could afford to buy my family out. I wasn't thinking with an investor mindset. So part of Building Real Estate Empires is doing just that, educating people and helping them with really building those family legacies and holding on to those. And, if they don't have that, then getting into it, starting to own some properties.
That is awesome. That is financial freedom. So you do consultations?
Yeah, so I'm actually launching here in 2024. So you guys can pretty much find us anywhere at Building Real Estate Empires. And yes, so we're doing consultations, workshops, field trips, educating anyone who wants to learn about getting into real estate. It doesn't matter how much money you have. If you're seasoned, we can help you scale. If you're just starting out, then we can help you with that too. That is awesome.
We're going to have to take a field trip and go with Sidni and see what she's up to.
For sure, yes.
I have seen some of your videos, and some of your videos consist of your flipping. So we actually see the before and after.
Yeah.
So that is awesome.
Oh, that's one of my first flip.
So tell me a little bit about your flipping experience.
Yes, so I purchased my first flip a few years ago from a wholesaler. I overpaid for my flip and I had no idea what I was doing. My realtor was investor friendly, so they say. But
It wasn't me.
no, it was not. I went, if I could go back, I would have done things a lot differently, but I'm glad that I can't go back because I learned so much through the experience. And, all of those successful flippers have that one like cringe story where they're just like, oh my gosh, like we lost money on this one, or, everyone's got their, that one flip, right? Maybe multiple, but, yeah, I flipped and I didn't like my hard money lending experience. I didn't know about Flipco at the time. I did not like the realtor that I was working with. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, hey, let me get into it. We'll learn as we go. Don't recommend that. No. For me though, we sold all of my family properties and I just put some money aside and I was like, you know what? This is like the amount that I'm comfortable with losing. So let's just see what happens. So that was my situation. That's how I found out about Flipco, is because the hard money lender that I originally used, they did the credit check, the appraisal, the inspection. At the time that I got into flipping, it was such a hot market that I was losing all of my contracts to people that had the cash, right? Mm-hmm. So they were closing really, really fast. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's 2 weeks, for me to get an appraisal. How are they like able to close in 2 days? So now I know Flipco. But yeah, so another thing that really inspired me was showing that on social media, a lot of people that are investing and flipping are not, you see them when they're successful and things are going well, but it's really important to me to talk about the fact that I've failed a few times too, and what I've learned, and really showing people that, everyone starts somewhere.
Yeah, most definitely. And not usually from the top.
Right.
Right? We go from the bottom up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, congratulations. Congratulations on your new business.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll have you soon speaking about that and taking us on your field trips, right?
Yeah, and get your clients deals funded, and some of them will be on our property tours, so that'll be exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. So before we leave, I want you to tell us a little bit about what you recommend to agents. If they're working with investors, what do you recommend that they do, that they are aware of?
Yeah, so for my agents, I definitely recommend you guys, if you're not flipping and you can't speak to the experience yourself, to definitely start networking with other flippers. So the more tools and resources that you have for your investor, then the better that is for you and your investor. So obviously, if your investor is successful, they're going to keep doing flips. They're going to keep bringing you business. So I would say having that source of vendors, if you will, your lenders, your hard money lenders, your refinance partners. Lucky for you, Flipco can help you on both sides. We've got a full service team that can help you from start to finish with all of that. But just having a lot of resources for your clients, making sure that they have their business structure set up properly, and really understanding their goals too. I've noticed not a lot of people understand their clients, as far as, if I were to ask a realtor, hey, do you know how many deals does your investor want to flip? What is their buy box? How much can they afford to invest right now? So I think those things are really important. Obviously, for agents, you guys are wanting to close a lot of transactions for your investors, but spending a little bit of time really understanding their why. Why did your investor get into flipping? What are they trying to accomplish? And then protecting them by making sure that they do have that liquidity, and that it's not the same money that they're using for paying their bills, separate. So helping them set up their business, spending that little bit of time up front, even if it's a seasoned investor, some things they may not have thought about, right? So spending a little bit of time with each of your clients, getting to know them on a personal level and why they got into it will go a long way with building that rapport. But I would say definitely watching these webinars is going to help you for sure, educating yourself on what it's like to be an investor so that you can understand your clients, understanding the different markets, where it's hot to be flipping in right now, where are all the cash buyers at? That's something that you guys are able to easily research. That way, you can even bring those opportunities to your investors. So understanding things like that, like I said, market trends. I would say some of the bigger resources, aside from this webinar, the podcast and the things that you guys are doing. Bigger Pockets has been like essential for me in understanding like where we're at in the market and learning a lot. There's Earn Your Leisure has another podcast that's really good. So I would say following those. Flipco Financial, we're always out at events, sharing different resources too. There's a few realtors on the team that also post different market trends. So I would say that that's my advice to realtors.
Well, thank you. Thank you. How do we get in touch with you?
Yes, you guys can find me at Sidni Campbell on Facebook, Building Real Estate Empires, everywhere else. I'm also on LinkedIn, and you can find me at all the White Picket Realty events.
We'll have all of that information below so that you can see and log into her information and just follow her and do as she does. So
do it better.
Not necessarily, but yes, we hope so. But remember, we're not the experts on everything, so we do want to make sure that we understand the topics so that we know how to better help our investors, our clients. That's it, right?
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, Sidni, for joining us. And I will see you next time. I am Elda, and this is White Picket Realty. Thank you.
Bye.